Chapter 14. Fly heard the squeak of the brakes on Ted's truck and felt it sway as he slowed down to the stop in Annie's driveway. Fly stood up and began to sniff through the vent grates of her pen. This place smells different, she thought. She then heard the sound of Ted's door open and shut. Where is he going? Fly knew something was very strange about this place. She began to shake and quiver. There goes my shaking again. I don't like this at all. Just then she heard the sound of dogs barking, as though the dogs were happy to see someone come home after a long day of work. She began to understand what the dogs were barking. Hello, Fly yelped. Fly heard a gate open and slam shut and a bell ringing. As she shook harder and harder and worried, she began to feel butterflies in her stomach. Just then a dog howled loudly. The dog barked Mom, referring to Annie as Mom. The noises soon faded and the driveway was surrounded only by the sounds of traffic off in the distance. She could also hear the wind blowing through the pine trees set alongside Annie's property. Fly became quiet, telling herself that Ted must have stopped here to visit someone. She settled down in her pen and began to close her eyes and doze off. All of that worrying exhausted her and she needed a nap. Annie stood in the front doorway and held open the screen door as she waved at Ted. Ted walked up the stairs into the cheerful-looking home. It was pleasant and smelled of fresh coffee, flowers, and fruit. Ted followed her into the kitchen, and the two of them sat down at her small wooden table. They chatted to one another as they sipped coffee and nibbled on homemade sweet rolls. Thanks for the coffee and rolls, Ted said. It's nice to take a break now and then. Annie smiled at him but noticed that he was not his usual self. He seemed uneasy. She let him talk. He said, I like to think of myself as a good person who treats my animals well. I feed them, keep them safe and healthy. But sometimes the whole business of racing greyhounds just gets to me. I wonder if it's really a business that truly serves a useful purpose, he continued. I've seen so many win, lose, and then get hurt. It's like a production line that I am responsible for maintaining. To what end, though? He asked. Annie was used to letting Ted go on about his profession, knowing that what he was really doing was coming to terms with one fact, that he was about to let go of another greyhound. These dogs worked hard for him and made him lots of money. Ted deeply appreciated those qualities in the dogs. He knew that when he looked back into their clear bright eyes, that they were devoted and attached to him. He strived to return that sentiment as best he could. Yet, he was in the business of greyhound racing, not in the doggy daycare business. On the other hand, Annie knew that Ted was special. Ted hoped that when the greyhounds were retired from racing, that they spent the rest of their days with some loving family. And that they would find joy in being able to run and be happy with laughing children, finding comfort in a daily routine.